Hi everyone, welcome to this video. Today I want to talk about something that was suggested by one of my subscribers who actually said, Phil, what's the best way to deal with gambling urges? Basically, when you get an urge, what do you do? How do you cope with that and prevent yourself from gambling? Well, yeah, a great question actually, and something I have been asked before, so I thought I'd just make a quick video with a couple of ideas, not exhaustive at all, but these are the things that I've done which have sort of helped me in the first sort of few stages of my recovery. Now, I did make a video recently, which I'll briefly summarise in a moment, but I'll try and take it up here, wherever the little card things pop up, which talks about a method which I must admit it's not my method. It's something that someone else has spoken about, and I sort of picked it up, tried to use it, and I found it really, really successful. What that is basically whenever you have an urge to gamble, it's the same as if you have an urge to drink, or the same as you have an urge to do anything which you believe can be sort of destructive, or that you know is a problem in your life. And what you do is you basically play the scenario through in your head as if you acted on that urge. So my personal biggest downfall when it came to gambling was machines, be that in the bookies, but more commonly in the pubs, mainly because they were much more accessible. I spent quite a lot of time in the pub, certainly until recently when I decided to have a go at this non-drinking lark. So you spend a lot of time in the pub, and during a lull in conversation or a half time in the football, if you're out watching football, there was always a bit of an urge to sort of get a £20 note and stick it in the machine, and have a bit of a gamble. So what I learned to do is play through the scenario in my head as to what's likely to happen if I do that. Now, the easiest way you'd think would be to play through in your head a losing scenario. So you lose that £20, you start chasing your losses, as happened time and time again, as you probably know, and you end up losing significantly more than you ever planned to, and you go home miserable. You probably go home late, and you get that sort of that real gnawing feeling at you that, oh my god, I've done it again. So that can be enough to put you off. But what I said before was that actually don't necessarily just play through the worst case scenario, because as gamblers, we know from experience that you can win and you can lose, and even if you play through a winning scenario in your head, play through a small profit, because ultimately, if you're playing these sorts of machines, it's only ever going to be a small profit. So play that through in your head, and and think, well, actually, if I do win, how am I going to feel about that? Is the winning actually going to sort of outweigh the fact that I've failed in my resolve to quit gambling? Is it going to outweigh the fact that I might be late home? Is it going to outweigh the fact that if that I will appear to be a failure basically in front of the people I'm out with? Anyone else who finds out that I have been gambling, particularly as I've sort of spoken to as many people as to be honest will actually listen. I've spoken to as many people as actually will listen to me about my gambling. So will actually the negatives outweigh the positives of actually even winning? So is there really any good outcome to this situation apart from maybe a slight improvement in your finances? So that's one way I found of actually coping with urges as they occur when you're in a position to gamble. To be honest, the biggest success I've had in dealing with urges is to make it very, very difficult to gamble when the urges do occur. If you can prevent yourself from acting on urges, at least in the short term, then you buy yourself some thinking time, you buy yourself a bit of a cooling off period. So for example, I don't carry cash now. If I go to the pub, I won't carry cash with me. So I can't play the machines. I've got my card. I'll take my contactless Monzo card with me, which won't allow gambling transactions. I'll take my card with me and I'll use that. So I can still buy my beer, I can still get around if I want. But if I do have that urge at half time or when there's a lull in conversation, I don't have that instant ability to go and put some money in the fruit machine. Now I know for a fact that 5 minutes walk from my pub, less than that probably, there's a bank with a cash point. So I could go and get some cash out the bank and I could come back and play the machines. But by putting that measure in place, by not carrying cash, I would have to leave the pub, go to the machine, come back. Not a lot of effort, but it just buys you that window, it buys you that bit of thinking time that makes you think, actually, you know what, I won't bother. Or even if you start that walk to the cash point, you might get there and think, actually, you know what, I don't need to gamble, I don't want to gamble. It just buys you that bit of headspace, so you can't act on that urge straight away. And these urges, they rely on you acting on them impulsively. They rely on you acting on them as and when they occur, because they will fade quite quickly. They won't disappear forever, and they'll come back, and they'll come back, and they'll come back. They become less frequent. From my experience, they become less frequent the longer you abstain from gambling. They become, you get less and less urges, but they do still occur. So what you've got to do is make sure that when you get these urges, when you really feel compulsed to gamble, when that little trigger says, I'll just have a quick go, just have a quick 10, 20 quid, just place that quick bet, are you watching the football? Just have a quick, half-time, full-time score or something. Whatever might trigger you, just make sure that it's sufficiently difficult, or that you buy sufficiently enough time to give yourself some headspace to think about it, and decide, do I actually want to do this? Is it worth, sabotaging my recovery just for the sake of this quick bet, which, like I say, run through the best case scenario. What's really going to happen? Even if you win, you're just going to trigger off a gambling spree again. You're just going to reignite that flame, and you're going to go back to it, and you're going to lose. Any money you won, you're going to lose again, and you're just going to be back to square one. So I've talked about the blocks a lot more in previous videos, but for me, like I say, not carrying cash where there's access to fruit machines or gambling machines is one of them. Get yourself a bank account that doesn't allow gambling transactions. I use Monzo. I thoroughly recommend them, but there are others out there. I'm not sponsored. No one will sponsor me, sadly. But yeah, Monzo have been really, really good. I can't use that card in the bookmakers. I can't use it online, so that's great. Get your online blocks in place. If you use the online casinos, if you use the online betting, online bookmakers, use GamStop. Stop yourself from gambling at online casinos. Self-exclude from any accounts you currently have. If you've got a bit of spare time, and if you're not gambling, let's face it, you can find some time. We've always found time to gamble in the past. Right? If you've got some spare time, register, with a load of new casinos, a load of new bookmakers, and then immediately self-exclude for the longest possible period. Do this obviously when you've got a clear head and you're not going to be tempted to deposit and play, of course. But do that, because that's just one more block in place. Self-exclude from your local bookmakers is easy. It's really easy. And you think it feels kind of embarrassing to go in and say, oh, can I self-exclude, please? But I guarantee, particularly if you're a regular, the person behind the counter, they'll think of the two things. Most likely, they couldn't care less. They're just doing their minimum wage job. They don't care. And you're probably not the first person that day that's come in and asked to self-exclude. The second thing they might think, if they care a little bit more, or if you're a regular, particularly in that bookmakers, they might think, actually, good for him. They would have seen you come and go and lose and have those problems. Excuse me, I've got really watery eyes today. Come and go and have those problems, and they might think, oh, good for them. They're doing something about it. I really can't imagine anyone's going to think anything negative of you for going in and asking to self-exclude. Just a heads up, they'll probably ask for a couple of passport-sized photos, so take those in with you if you go. There are obviously loads of other ways. Like I say, it's about breaking that time, location, and opportunity triangle, which I've got a video about. Loads of people have made videos about. It's very, very powerful. So I've gone a little bit off course, but like I say, my biggest and most efficient and successful way of dealing with urges is to make sure you can't act on them immediately. You can't rid yourself of urges. You can't rid yourself of them entirely, and although they will become less frequent, if you are giving up something that has been a significant part of your life, something you are addicted to psychologically, it'll be the same with drinking, it'll be the same with anything, you will still get urges. You can't suppress them. All you can do is make sure that you can't act on them straight away. You buy yourself the time until basically they go away, and they will invariably go away. Sometimes they're stronger than others, but all urges will subside. Just make sure that when they strike, you can't act on them. And if you do find yourself in a situation where you can act on them, firstly, learn from it. Make sure that situation never arises again, because there's always something you can do to make sure that you're not able to gamble. But secondly, play through the situation in your head. Is it worth risking, your recovery? Is it worth reigniting that addiction, even for the potential of what's ultimately going to be a modest win that will probably go back to the bookies, go back to the arcade, go back to the, the fruit machine operator anyway. I do hope that helps. Thanks very, very much for your comment. Please comment down below if you've got any other ideas for videos, or any points you want to discuss, or maybe you disagree with me. If you do like the videos, please do subscribe. Give us a thumbs up. It means a lot. And yeah, I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers, guys. See you soon.